What's going on, fellas? This is actually a Rockwell tool review, despite the fact I have a Dewalt 20 volt max here. The reason I'm showing you this is because this is what I should have just bought from the get-go. I should have just spared myself the agony of buying this thing right here. I'm going to show you a little story on that and what happened. I know I paid about $140 for this, maybe even more, and it claimed to be more powerful than an average Dewalt impact, and it is not. This Dewalt tool isn't even what I would consider an impact driver for, mechanical work, but yet this device outperforms this. I already owned this. I thought I would get something with a little more hit. Maybe the hammer is bigger, maybe it can crack nuts loose better. I didn't see that, and I don't have the equipment to confirm that. But I do have a video that I'll leave a link in the description that shows this tool driving lag bolts faster than this. And it isn't even what I would consider a true impact gun. It's an impact driver. So this is a Rockwell impact. Had it about 2 years and rarely use it. Quit working on me. It's got a burn up contact in there. So I don't know if this thing's fixable or not. Hard to say. It's pretty roached out there. Kind of a shame. I paid a lot of money for this thing, only had it for 2 years and rarely used it. I have a video where I did a competition to see which one can drive lag bolts faster. Turns out this drives lag bolts faster than this thing. I took it to work one day and was putting my partner to shame driving 3-inch lag bolts into double ply 2x12s, which were anchoring into a ledger. So pretty beefy drill job, and yeah, man, this thing's a goner, and there's no way you're just going to be able to buy a switch off of them. I doubt that's possible. So I'm done with Rockwell for life. I'm just sticking with Dewalt, man. This thing's been on job sites with me for years on end. Still running strong. Kind of depressed about this though. That's really disappointing. I'm gonna try and fix it. We'll see how it goes. I got this thing back together. I cleaned up the contacts, the silver contacts, with some memory cloth. Got as much as the pitting out as I could. I did not remove all of the pitting on the switch lever contactor because it is about out of silver, and you want that silver on there for conductivity. They burn up far less easier. So it's working now. Pretty much saved myself, I think it was like 200 bucks I paid for this thing. It was not cheap, I know that. So there you have it. So if you've had any experience with Rockwell equipment, if you've had a better experience than me, let me know. But all I can tell you is that I will never buy another one of their products. A couple of drops of oil destroy my drill, dude. Really? I think that's what did it. I think the oil got into the trigger, carburized, and caused a cancerous reaction on the terminals. Once you get a bit of a burnt spot on a terminal, arc cancer forms. I just made that word up, obviously, but it is a real thing. Arc cancer can shut a whole job site down. One time, we had a couple of guys who didn't have enough sense to turn the air compressors off before they plugged them in. They just plug in an air compressor with it turned on, and it would burn up the contacts inside the outlets on the job site, okay, or on the extension cords. So what would happen is someone would come and they would plug that extension cord into that bad outlet, and then this would get a little bit of burnt carburization on it. And then they would take this and they would plug it into another one of our cords. And then this would get a little bit of a burnt carburization on it. So then when we would go and plug in our tool to this cord the next day or something, then the tool would start getting a burn on the end of the terminal. And this thing starts to burn up, and over time, in a matter of a week, your entire job site will be shut down due to something I call arc cancer that just slowly burns these ends up and burns up every cord on your job site. It's a very strange phenomenon that I've only seen happen twice in 20 years, but it is something to be on the lookout for. I just wanted to share a story with you guys from back when I was a carpenter. I had a unique experience of being able to try out every impact gun that there was available at the time. This was probably 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure every brand out there I had. And the reason why I buy Dewalt equipment is because I was one day tasked with drilling lag bolts about this big, a little bit shorter than this by about an inch, into a green treated 6x6 post in a shear wall, hanger. Each hanger had about 40 of these lag bolts in it. So that's 80 lag bolts per shear wall. There was one shear wall every other room and a 100 unit floor. So you're looking at about 100 shear walls on the east and west side combined. So this is a 4-story hotel, you guys. So I drove thousands and thousands of these lag bolts, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I would have an array of batteries charging and an array of drills. You cannot use one drill for a job like that. It will overheat and catch on fire, except for the Dewalt. The Dewalt was the only drill that I could run until there was just no more energy left in my hand. I ran a Dewalt drill to the point where the cooling fan had melted off of the motor and began to freewheel like spinners on some rims. But yet it was still outperforming all of the other impacts. The Makita was a close second. The batteries that they use in Dewalt is better than all of them. I know this because I was getting a pretty good sense of how many lag bolts or how many hangers I could get out of one battery. I could even sense which batteries were old versus new. I could easily tell. I could know right away that because this was an old battery, it wasn't going to last as long as the new battery. That's how much of a sense I was getting from doing so many lag bolts. But anyway, the main purpose of this video is Rockwell tools. My Rockwell died on me, guys. I spent a lot of money on this thing because I didn't want to spend an extra 50 bucks and get the Dewalt impact. I think I spent $139 for this, and the Dewalt was like $190 or something crazy. But in retrospect, it would have been well worth it. You would have seen four working tools here had I not been a cheapskate and bought a Rockwell impact. Now the second story I want to tell you is about the Rockwell impact. It claims a harder hammer hit than the Dewalt, and indeed it may be able to drive a bolt tighter than this impact. However, when it comes to an industrious job setting where getting things done in a damn hurry is important, it may mean the difference between you being the first one getting laid off and not, you know? That's how serious it was to me. I wanted to be the last guy laid off, and Rockwell wasn't the drill to do it. My buddy was running my Dewalt one day, old Antoine. He didn't have a tool with him that day. I had the Rockwell, thinking I'm about ready to kick his ass with this Rockwell. I just bought it, you know. So I'm all proud and full of cognitive dissonance, thinking I've made the best decision I could have possibly made. I was all hyped up in the way they described the power on this thing. They did something, I can't remember what it was about the power output on this. It's on the box somewhere. It turned out to be kind of trickery. I'll look into that later. But anyway, we're driving lag bolts on a ledger board in a building for an overhang porch, and he was killing me with my Dewalt. He was driving 3 lag bolts to my 2. By the time I topped off my second lag bolt, he was had his third one topped off and was arming the 4th. So again, it's despicable. I made a bad decision. Even though it's 20 volt, you know, I can't say the batteries lasted any longer either. There's something about, they use high quality batteries in Dewalt tools, I can tell you that right now. They're obviously using the top of the line, but that day I drove all them lag bolts, you guys, I used every impact drill brand there was from 2 different companies that were on that job site. My boss would often hire another company because the jobs are so large. And I used every impact so that I didn't burn them up. I was just being courteous. And when one hanger was done, I would set that impact down and let it cool and pick up the next impact. And I had like 6 impacts. And I was going at it sometimes with 2 impacts, 1 in each hand. I would arm a bunch of bolts, like just get the bolts set, sticking out of the wood. And then I would go in with 2 impact guns like a maniac. But yeah, I may have looked like an idiot, but hey, I was the one always getting raises and promoted and laid off last.